Hare Krishna. So now we will hear about the Paryaya system. The Swamiji of the 8 Mathas conduct the worship at Shri Krishna Matha by turns for 2 years each. This tenure of worship by rotation is known as Paryaya. The Swamiji in charge of the worship at any point of time is called Paryaya Swamiji, and his Matha is called the Paryaya Matha. The biennial transfer of the privilege of worshipping from one Matha to another is celebrated as a grand festival called Paryaya Festival. The handover of charge begins with a grand procession where all the Swamijis are brought in decorated palanquins, that is Pallaki. The outgoing Swamiji receives the Swamijis and then hand over to the incoming Swamiji. The keys to the Shri Krishna Matha and the Akshaya patra, a vessel given by Shri Madhwacharya to the temple for the sake of never-ending Annadana. Preparations of Paryaya. The preliminaries start a year before the Paryaya ceremony. The foremost among those rituals are first Bale Anhat, second Kaki Anhat, third Kate Muhurtham, and fourth is Battered Muhurtham. First Bale Anhat. All this is done on an auspicious day about a year before the Paryaya Festival. Plantain and tulsi groves are formally set up on that day. Each Paryaya Swamiji requires tulsi leaves for daily service at the Krishna Matha and plantain service leaves for feast. Banana is needed for offerings to the deity. Hence, the Swamiji has to start cultivating these plants in the gardens belonging to his Matha, so that by the time the Paryaya period starts, the rituals can commence. Once the day of Mahotsav, on the day of Mahotsav, priests pray to the 9 planets first. Then Matha workers carry the tulsi seedlings and the plantains which is to be planted. The procession moves towards the Krishna Matha. The royal elephant and other paraphernalia of the Matha participate in this ritual. They offer prayers at the temples of Chandramauleshwara and Ananteshwara. They also pray before Krishna's shrine and offer coin. The prayers goes this way: please bless us so that there is no date of tulsi for your worship and plantain leaves for dinner. They also bow to the deities of Shri Mukhyaprana and Shri Madhwacharya and go back to their Matha. Then they plant tulsi saplings and plantain plants. Next is Kaki Mahut. Within 2 months of celebration, the Bali Mahut, they celebrate Kaki Mahut. Thousands of people are fed during the period of Paryaya. During special festivals, about 5,000 to 10,000 people are fed. So it is important to have considerable stock of rice. The procession starts from the Matha. A pack of rice is decorated and kept in a palanquin. It is covered with a silken cloth. Devotees go behind the palanquin with packs of rice on their head. All offers to the Matha participate in the procession. They pray at the temple of Chandreshwara and Ananteshwara. The Swamiji conducts this ritual himself. Other Swamijis are also invited to the Matha and honored. Next is Kate Mahut. This is celebrated about 6 months before the commencement of the Paryaya. After collecting rice, arrangements are made to gather firewood for cooking, which is why the ceremony is held. Storing firewood in an artistic manner is the speciality of Udupi. Firewood is picked up in a shape of a beautiful chariot. It is visible in the northeast corner of the Madhva Sarovar. Artists observed this ritual to start building this beautiful chariot of rooked pieces of wood. After proportionating the 9 planets, the procession starts with workers carrying loads of firewood. They salute deities in the different temples and reach the place behind the cattle shed, where the chariot of firewood is to be constructed. After rituals of purifying the ground, artists begin their work. Many skilled artists pile up firewoods and arrange it in the shape of a chariot 55 feet high. A few days before the Katai mouth of the next Paryaya, this chariot is dematted and the firewood is used for cooking. Next is Battered Muhurtham. This ritual takes place about 7 or 8 weeks before the Paryaya. It is meant to gather paddy from the new crop before the Paryaya ceremony. All these rituals are observed to gather leaves to serve food. They collect rice and firewood for cooking. The sole aim is continuation of the tradition of mass feeding. That is why Lord Krishna of Udupi is known as Anna Brahma. After the prayer, the procession starts from the Matha. A bag of paddy is placed in a palanquin and covered with the silken cloths. After saluting the deities in different places, the procession enters the Badagu Malige. The Badagu Malige is the official storehouse of the Paryaya. It is on this day that authorities of the next Paryaya enter this place. The pack of paddy is placed on a platform and the priest offers rituals of worship. The manager of the Paryaya Matha offers fruits and remunerations to scholars. From that day, the new Paryaya Matha takes charge of the building. Another ritual also takes place the same day. By that time, construction of the chariot of firewood is complete. A decorated dome is brought along with the procession. It is ceremoniously handed over to the chief architect and placed on the top of the chariot. This marks the end of preliminary rituals of the Paryaya. Next is the pre-Paryaya tour. About 4 to 5 months before the Paryaya ceremony, the Swamijis go on a pilgrimage to different holy places. This is known as Paryaya Purva Sanchara. After the Paryaya, the Swamiji is not supposed to move out of Udupi, so he visits different places to meet his disciples and invites them for the Paryaya Festival beforehand. He is supposed to visit all centers of pilgrimage from Kanyakumari to Badirikshashram and offer service to the deities in those places to obtain blessings. On an auspicious day, the Swamiji offers special prayers to his deities and start on pilgrimage. His visit goes in such a way. He goes places from Kanyakumari, Rameshwaram, Tirupati, then Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka, Gaya, Kashi, Pragya, Rishikesha, Haridwar, and Badahari likewise. After finishing the tour of South and North India, he returns to his district. Afterward, he visits the pilgrim centers of the district and finally enters the Udupi town in an auspicious moment. During this tour to different towns, devotees invite the Swamiji and honor him. They also contribute liberally for the expenses of the Paryaya. Then is Purva Pravesha. After 10 to 15 days before the Paryaya festival, the Swamiji concludes his tour and ceremonies ceremoniously enter the town of Udupi. The entire town is decorated to welcome him. A big crowd is seen at the Jodukate at the Udupi Mangaluru road on that day to welcome the Swamiji. If the Swamiji enters the city from Shimoga side, the reception is arranged near the Kadiyali temple on the Udupi Karkal route. As soon as the Swamiji reaches the place, he is garlanded by leaders and dignitaries of the town. Flowers and fried rice are sprinkled on the route. From the mandapa at the Jodukate, the Swamiji is taken to the car street in procession. Replicants of great saints and deities of the Matha are placed in the palanquin and taken in the procession. Musician plays, scholars chant Vedic hymns. The Swamiji is seated in a decorated chariot. The deities are in a palanquin. Streets are decorated up to the car street. Different arches and mandapas are constructed en route and they are named after the poniths of that matha. When the procession reaches Car Street, the Swamiji descends from the chariot and walks up to the Chandreshwara Ananteshwara to the Shri Krishna Matha and offers prayers. At the entrance of his Matha, the 9 planets are proportionated and the Swamiji enters the Matha. Citizens honor the Swamiji in a public function at Car Street. He is profusely garlanded. The Swamiji announces his new plans and projects to be undertaken during the tenure of his Paryaya and seeks the cooperations of the citizens. Now we will see one after the other, that is Hore Kanike. A few days before the Paryaya devotees bring rice, jangri, pulses, vegetables, coconuts and other objects needed for mass feeding during the festival of Paryaya and donate them to the Swamiji. These objects are bought in trucks, carts and headloads. Procession pass through different streets of Udupi and enter the Krishna Matha. The Swamiji accepts those contributions and blesses devotees. Next is Olipe. This is a ceremony in which both the Swamijis, the one who hands over charge and the other who takes charge, donate rice and vegetable to other Swamijis of Udupi. All provisions are taken out in procession and sent to different matas. This is arranged because all pilgrims visiting the Paryaya Festival and staying in different matas must be fed and looked after properly. Therefore, a token of a contribution is given by the Swamiji in different matha so that they can offer hospitality to visiting pilgrims. This is arranged as a token of cooperation. Next is invitation to Paryaya. A day before the Paryaya festival, the Swamiji sets to different mathas in procession and personally invites Swamijis for the Paryaya rituals. The head of other mathas invite the Swamiji to their respective mathas before the Paryaya and arrange for a grand feast in honor of the Swamiji by offering money as well as other objects like sandal paste. Next is festivals arranged by the outgoing Swamiji. The day following that of Makara Sankramana is celebrated as Chunotsava. This is a festival the following day. The third day is allotted to the outgoing Swamiji to celebrate his last special service. The fourth day is the day of Paryaya. Normally, the festivals fall as per this calculation or this schedule. January 14, Sankramana. January 15, Chunotsava. January 16, Rest. January 17, Festival arranged by the outgoing Swamiji. January 18, the Paryaya Festival. A special feast is arranged by the outgoing Swamiji on the day before the Paryaya. His responsibilities come to the end with the Brahma Rathotsavam at night. The next day he has to perform the Visarjana. Nirmalya Visarjana Puja only. Afterwards, it is the duty of the Swamiji who takes charge the next day. The festival of Paryaya. The Swamiji who is to take care of the Krishna Matha goes to a place called Danda Tirtha, about 10 kilometers south of Udupi, on the previous night. It is the place where Shri Madhwacharya studied in his childhood. He made a canal through his ritual stick to irrigate the gardens of his teacher. That pond came to be known as Dandatirtha. At about 3 a.m., the Swamiji gets up and bathes in the holy pond and starts the journey to Udupi. At about 4 a.m., he reaches the outskirts of Udupi. A big crowd of devotees welcomes the Swamiji at a place known as Jodukate. The other Swamijis of Udupi, except the one who is to hand over the charge, assembles there. The Swamiji who is to hand over charge stays back at the Krishna Matha to welcome the new Paryaya Swamiji. The tour from the Jodukate to Car Street is decorated with festoons and lights. All buildings are illuminated. The arches and festoons represent traditions of preceptors. Different kinds of drums, trumpets, and musical instruments are played. The music enlivened the entire area. As soon as the would-be Paryaya Swamiji reaches the Jodukate, other pontiffs and devotees assembled there welcomes him. He will now have the good fortune of serving Lord Krishna for the next 2 years. The Swamiji who come to welcome the Paryaya Swamiji are dressed in silken shawls and headdress. They sit on their palanquins. The deity of the would-be Paryaya Matha is placed in a palanquin and taken at the head of the procession. The route is well decorated. Trained elephants are placed in the front row. This is followed by different kinds of tabelaks. Troops of singers and pipers participate in the procession. There are vehicles carrying deities and priests chanting hymns from the Vedas. The deity of the Matha rides in an oriental golden palanquin. Thousands of people gather on the street as well as balconies of their houses along the route to witness the scene. The procession moves slowly, covering 1 kilometer in 2 hours. On reaching Car Street, the Swamiji descend from the palanquin and walk on the white cloth spread on the road. They circumambulate Car Street and reach Krishna Matha. The Swamiji salutes the deity of Krishna to the Kanaka's window. Priests pray to the 9 planets and offer grain and money to learned Brahmins to appease the planets. From there, the Swamiji goes to the temple of Chandreshwara and Ananteshwara. At the entrance of Shri Krishna Matha, the outgoing Swamiji receives the new Swamiji and leads him inside holding his hands. The first descend to the Madhava Sarovar, wash their feet and hands and enter the Scantum Scantrum. When the 2 Swamijis enter the Scantum Scantrum, the other Swamijis proceed towards the building known as Badagu Malige, sit on their decorated seats and wait for the Paryaya Swamiji. Then Paryaya ceremony. The Swamiji enters the Matha and places his box of deities in the Tirtha Mandapa and does the Arti. Then both the Swamijis enter the Scantum Scantrum and pray before the deity. They also pray before the deities of Mukhya Prana and postures before the deities of Shri Krishna, Mukhya Prana and Garuda at the Chandrashala Hall. The important rituals of handing over charge takes place in the room known as Simhasana. Only a few officials of the Mathas participates in this ritual transfer of powers. The new Paryaya Swamiji places the box of deities in the sacred seat and does arti. Then the outgoing Paryaya Swamiji sits on the seat of Madhwacharya. He takes the would-be Paryaya Swamiji by his hand and honors him by offering sandal paste and other objects of honor. The outgoing Swamiji gets up from the seat of Madhwacharya, holds the hands of the new incumbent and makes him sit on the seat. Then he himself sits by his side. Soon after the ascent, the Swamiji is officially known as the Paryaya Swamiji. The Swamijis of the 8 Mathas get few such occasions of the occupying the sacred seat, scantified by the association of the great Acharya himself. From the moment the Swamiji occupies this seat, he directs all activities and rituals as the representative of Shri Madhwacharya. Then takes place transfer of Akshaya patra. After exchanging the seats, the two Swamijis inquire about each other's welfare and proceed towards the deity of Shri Madhwacharya. At the entrance of Scantum Scantrum, the outgoing Swamiji hands over the Akshaya patra, age-old vessel preserved from the time of Shri Madhwacharya, the ladle and keys of the shrine. With this ritual, the management of Shri Krishna Matha is officially transferred to the new Paryaya Swamiji in the Badagu Maligai. From here, the Swamiji proceeds towards the Badagu Maligai building. There, the new Swamijis honor other Swamijis by offering sandal paste and other objects of honor. In the time of Sri Vadiraja, the Paryaya congregation used to held in this place. Then congregation at the arranged at open theatre. The last program of the ceremony is a big congregation known as Darbara at the Rajanagana. All the Swamijis come in procession at about 7 a.m. to the auditorium. The place can accumulate about 20,000 people at a time. After chanting of the hymns from the Vedas, the two Swamijis bless devotees. The outgoing Swamijis bid farewell to everyone, and the new Paryaya Swamiji announces projects for the improvement of facilities at Krishna Matha. Leaders and luminaries from a diverse cross sections of society felicitate the new Paryaya Swamiji here. And this is how the sacred ceremony of Paryaya takes place at Udupi. Hare Krishna.